Okay. Yeah, so really this is a template, isn't it? Hello, Uzi. So I have a new template class, CharacteristicRangeData, which then represents a standard vector. Oh wait, the container type is sometimes different. I guess you only need to know the container type. What? And maybe a few others. Well, the very least, I probably want this one. Container type. Yeah, and because it is a template, I have to define everything inside this header. Already created a CXX file, but guess I should delete this. Good morning, Gabriel. Yeah. Let's include debug because I'll probably use other debug macros as well, since it is a template and I have to do all the definition code in the same header. I'm not sure if I need type name here. Seems like ridiculous, but we'll see. I mean, because I think it's ridiculous, I don't do it, and then we'll get a compiler when it is needed anyway. Yeah, let's remove the CXX file that was generated by this command. And then reconfigure to make a horrible clobber in the cmakelist.txt file picks it up. And then see if we can compile it. Nothing to do. Yeah, of course, it's just a header. I'll have to include it somewhere. Okay, so eventually the characteristic range.h or the characteristic range class. No, that's not true. It is a class that is derived from this. So that is the user class. So this is derived from it, and it has a few vectors here. And I'm going to replace those vectors with, yeah. Now wait a minute, this is a vector, this is a vector, this is a vector, this is a vector, this is a vector. It's all a vector. Yes, it is all a vector. Yeah, I'm just gonna, let's just pass the type that I want to store. So I'm going to have CharacteristicRangeData, which is in namespace vulkan pipeline. Instead of using standard vector. And then, well, all the others as well. Might as well go big, right? So substitute standard vector with that should do it. Now, then of course I have to include a header. No pipeline yet. Oh, here's a pipeline. Include the pipeline or pop line. Pop was honored, but unfortunately for him. Data.h. There's another pipeline here, but it's an inline, so let's leave that at the bottom. Now we should get all kinds of errors. Required from here in instantiation of class vulkan pipeline. Value type, yes, no value type. No, of course not. So I changed my mind, and the container is actually standard vector. And data, this is just data, I'll call it data, whatever. Or T. So I call it T, I'll call it T. Everyone uses T. Yeah, and then the field, now it feels ridiculous again, of course. Of course, value type is then just simply T. Yeah, might as well not do that here then, because you're not really aware of it, or are we? I'm kind of aware of it. Let's use container type here then. Well, there is also something to print here. Data is surprisingly data. Nobody expected that. Because yes, we can just print vectors as if it is nothing. I'm not sure, however, if that is being included by debug.h. But we'll see, right? Because I'm going to compile it, trying to compile it. One thing is for sure, I would like to have a vector here. Or this thing here. And then everything goes wrong again at line. At line 4, no, not really. At this line, 253. Could not convert From bracing closed list to, yeah, that's true. This used to work when there was a vector, but now it's no longer a vector, and so therefore it doesn't work anymore. Yep, I guess I want this to still work because why not? Looks handy. I'll make a C tag so I can jump to my new file. Well, but by the way, for the newbies under us, if you define, I mean, a type of a variable, I finally have it, the word variable. This is the type, and this is the variable. And then it uses a constructor. So if you do brace open, sorry, not parenthesis open, and then the constructor arguments, you have the constructor. If you do nothing, just semicolon, you use actually the same as parenthesis open and close. So no arguments at all, which is called the default constructor. If you use an equal sign, you do not use assignment. You use what is called copy initialization, which has certain special rules, but basically it comes down to calling the constructor which uses this as argument. And when you have braces with a list of stuff, that's called an initialized list. So despite the assignment, what you really need is a constructor that accepts an initialized list. And the standard vector does have that. But of course my new class doesn't. So I want to add a new constructor which takes an initialized list. And to be honest, that's just a guess. And I suppose we need a const reference because God knows how big this thing is. List, well, let's not call ourselves and I'm just passing that directly to the vector, which knew how to handle it. The only thing I'm not sure about is if this exists. Got you there. Well, I mean, I'm serious. Let's search for it. It is defined in initialize list, apparently. And do we have an example here? Example code. Now here's also a constructor that takes an initialize list. They call it L. And they pass it to a vector. That's like literally what I did, except I did it in, I added a const reference here. That's called copy list initialization, apparently, when this is a list. It's even more specific. Now here it says an object of type standard initializer list is a lightweight proxy object. So I'm gonna assume that actually it does not contain everything. The underlying array is a temporary array of type const_n. Initializer list may be implemented as a pair of pointers or pointer and length. Initializer list does not copy the underlying objects. Okay. So my const reference was indeed nonsensical, or well, showing that I didn't know anything about initializer list. I'm going to call it L as well. Might look professional that way. I mean, they did it on cwpreference.com. So yeah, well, no, I think that should work. AKA fix that last compile error. Well, that's a new obvious error. The add here took pointers to vectors, and I replaced my vectors with you know what. So cannot do. If you read the description below the video, below the stream, then I said that I would the characteristic, that's where we are inside now, in the initialization state, which is where we are now, would register its data vectors with the FlatCreateInfo. Well, that happens here. Just called add instead of register. Let's not change it. Not yet. Now it seems a bit silly to have all these ampersands here, I must say. Why not work with references? Meanwhile, I'm changing this anyway. So all my adds, and I bet all my adds are FlatCreateInfo adds. Yeah, it jumps to the top. So this is no other adds in this whole file. They take pipeline CharacteristicRangeData, the new template class. All of them are, of course, the same type. What? Okay, let's try that again. Oh, this is a function. Slightly different. This one, however, and this one, we just worked on that. That's something else, and this one. That was the last one. So, yep, all of them except this one. That is a function, but you can look into that in a second, or shall I just look at it? Well, that was a second. My guess is that this is the one. Share input data. Yeah, shaded stage create infos, and it's calling this one, but that's then forwarding it, as it were, to the shader, to the function, member function of the same name of the shader input data object. So that would be this one, and that simply returns this thing, which is surprisingly not highlighted. Nobody knows. Cannot jump to that. Cannot jump to that. This is the header file. How can this not exist? Yeah, for those new here, the badge here, and this means nothing. It just means who gets access to it. It's an empty thing. So only characteristic range and IMU can call this function. But nothing is passed. It's a simple accessor. Oh, that's why. They are now declared with those macros. Declare whatever. That's a lot scroll. Yeah, think that. No, we're still not there. There we are. Declare container. So CTEX doesn't understand that. But that means I simply have to look for the same thing without the M underscore in front of it. And then I'll find it. There it is. And this is a standard vector. Yeah. Should I change this into a characteristic range data object as well, or not? I would say not, because this is not part of a characteristic range class. This is the shader input data object. Okay, I'm getting completely crazy of the music that I'm listening to. Okay, that's better. Hello, Rohit. I mean, as you can see in the description, I'm saying that what I want to do with these new template classes, characteristic range data, they get filled, and then I say, okay, pinpoint this state, and then later I can reset to the same state. Well, that is very specific for a given characteristic range. So for one characteristic of the pipeline. While this object collects all of that. Yeah, recursive functions are fun. Not much to learn about it, except that you run out of stack space very quickly. But you can write a recursive function to calculate the God knows 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. What are those numbers called? I don't know. I'm bad at names. Now you distracted me. With 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89. Fibonacci numbers. Yeah, I knew it, but I could really know. So write a recursive function to calculate the Fibonacci numbers. No, they are not vectorials. They were Fibonacci numbers. Anyway, this shader stage create infos thing here is, I don't know what is it, but it's definitely not something that I can freeze and then reset to a certain state. What is it filled with? Who is filling it? Let's look at that. Nobody we know is filling it. Or maybe this class. Pushback, there we are. Build shader. Aha, it is filled at the moment we compile the shader. Really? Is this compilation? Okay, I would say okay. I would also say that by the time I compile a shader, the pipeline is already done. But penalty is needed. Shit. Oh, no, of course, I see. It is needed, this is needed for, in order to create the pipeline. The pipeline itself. So let me grab for that anyway. Or not. Using the accessor. Add. I'm usual, not interesting really. Return. Accessor, declaration. Another declaration. Okay, this is the batch is only used here, so I have to look for this. Who is calling that? It's not being used at all. It is not being used at all. That doesn't really seem possible. I mean, it is possible, but come on. No. I cannot believe that. Let's put it then this way. I cannot find it. Why can I not find it? Resource. I'm gonna run. I don't know. It's kind of nonsensical to run this again, but same output. Okay, so this is a test which I'm not even compiling. This is a test which I'm not compiling. This is a test which I'm not compiling. Here I tell the FlatCreateInfo that I'm going to fill it. That's the current test object. This is just a declaration, and this is the thing that we call here. But it returns a const reference. Now it is being filled, but how is filling it any interesting at all unless I use it? And I think I don't see any usage of it. But a moment ago I said, oh, it's going to be used when the pipeline is created. So creates, it's called graphics pipeline, I think. So this is on the logical device, you call create graphics pipeline, and that takes the graphics pipeline create info that contains everything that is needed to create a pipeline. And that is this thing here. It is a local object containing no. So this one, I guess, right? The stages are modules, shaders, shader stage create info. Also a local thing here. That is returned by a call to get pipeline shader stage create infos. In the meantime, I forgot what I was looking for. Was this a thing or not? Because this is what is being used. Shader stage create infos. Yes, it is. Change name. Right. I think I get it. So this is being filled indeed. And we're adding it in the derived class. Shader stage create infos, right? Remember that. H. So that is added here because this function returns actually that container, which is then filled by at the moment we build it, and the usage goes through the merge. God, I lost it again. Hi, Post Bunny. Oh, that's how it is being used. Ah, how obscure. The call to add here. So this function returns a const reference to the auto here is also very annoying, I must say. But it returns a const reference to a standard vector of this. And therefore we call on the FlatCreateInfo. We call this add. And that adds it to a pipeline CharacteristicRangeData's list, which we get back by calling this function. But okay, if there's any merging going on, that means that I want to be able to have multiple characteristics potentially build shaders. One builds one shader and another characteristic builds another shader. And that is so not supported this way. Looks like a bug. Because now, like this, they use something from the base class. So every characteristic registers the same vector. That is, at the very least, not thread safe. So why would I be doing that? The idea is that if I call later on, I'm doing that in fill or not. Wait a minute, where's my build? Yeah, in compile all the way down. Oh, that's not even a fill. Oh wait, we do fill and then compile. Yeah, everything for the same fill index. So this characteristic calls build shader, which then fills a certain vector, but not my vector. I think that's confusing here. The confusion. This should not cause characteristic range build shader. Okay, that just calls build shader. Yep. Data build shader, and that pushes back to shader says create infos. Okay, so this is not not thread safe and not correct in any way. I have to get rid of this thing. In fact, I'm seeing another m underscore. So build shader can be called concurrently from different threads. It's a pure horror what's happening here. Damn, man. Pain in my upper back. Recursive factorial thing, but it isn't working. Well, you did wrong. Rohit, what did you do wrong? I could punish you, but you can also just look at your own code again and fix it, okay? Learn how to use a debugger, maybe? Yeah, debug output. I want you to have hacked that for 3 hours, at least, on yourself, before you can ask me. You must be like really, 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 really stuck. Not give up in 5 minutes. It's in your own interest, man. Yeah, I wouldn't learn anything. If I would quickly write it for you or fix it, anything, you wouldn't learn anything. You cannot learn anything unless you feel tired and exhausted. So make yourself exhausted. Then you learn something. Yep. It's really very simple function. So you can do it on your own, I'm sure. I believe in you. Since this function build shader is called by multiple threads at the same time, it cannot use anything from shader input data. Hell, it can use so little from the shader input data object, I might as well make it static function. Is it scary? Yes, it is scary. But will I do it? Of course I will do it. Build shader. Multiple threads are going to call this, so it must not use anything from the current object. And that is like guaranteed by adding static. That also automatically means that, of course, this can no longer exist. I mean, this returns information on what was added with build shader. I don't think so, because then it would have to access that thing, and no. So yeah, this doesn't exist. And neither can this. Cannot exist anymore. And it already doesn't exist. Yeah, that the reason was that I don't know, what was the reason? Say the input data declare container. Oh well. And I'm thinking, doesn't the same story hold for all the other declare container things? Not really, because, well, yes it does. Container type. What did I do? Hey, Bastian. It seems to be holding for all these things. I have a lot of declare containers here. A lot. Aren't all of them accessed thread unsafe by multiple characteristic tasks? Let's pick one. Push constant ranges. So that declares this vector here, which is inserted here by equal to insert. Accessed here as if it is nothing. And this insert is called from push constant declaration context GLSID full is used in. That's here. And it doesn't say who is calling that. That's annoying. I should add a regular expression search such that it only shows calls and not declarations and definitions and debug output and all whatnot. Well, this is the only interesting line, the rest is just not really interesting. Every time I have to do that manually, look at it and find the only place where it is being called. Yeah, well, there we go. So the user code, aka user code pipeline characteristic, calls preprocess, and if I want different characteristics to process different shaders, then this might be happening in parallel. And then two different threads are calling is used in, and all hell breaks loose. feeling that the only way to get this right is by building in something that checks if I do it wrong, like checks everything. Then I can just keep running it and until I don't get errors anymore. Giving me a lot of well, hints how to fix this. Very difficult. This code is dividing the requested descriptor sets, or sorry, the requested shader resources or descriptors, whatever, over descriptor sets. And that can only be done once. I mean that you need all the information. You need the information of all the characteristics. So it say that you can only call prepare shader resource declarations when all the characteristic tasks are finished. And that is done at the beginning of this preprocess. Which would mean that we can only pre-process a shader after all the characteristics are done. Done doing what? Apparently it's not using the preprocessing itself. Let me have a look again at what exactly this is using. Required shader resource plus characteristic list. It is using m required shader resource plus characteristic list. And again, and again. Then it's using m preferred descriptor sets. And again. And undesirable descriptor sets. Okay. And that was called from here. It's also using mSetKey to set key index. Eventually. So furthermore, preprocess is using the per stage declaration context. That is per stage. So one given characteristic doing a single stage, that should be defined then. And then the shader variables, I could split that up in per stage as well, or per characteristic for that matter. Risk, yeah, well, it's not really the C++ syntax, I think. It's just very difficult code, and it would be as difficult in any language. At most, you would not be able to write it at all in certain languages. I'm starting to feel now that I have to strip my shader input data object of all vectors. And instead pass them to the functions. This is a huge change. I don't like it. I must be certain that this is the only way to go. Oh man. Let me think for a while. Yeah, I have a vague idea, but it is a huge change. I probably should start with backing up my Git until I have something that compiles again, and then start working from there. Currently nothing compiles. Time for a huge hacking session, so let's put on some good music. Hmm. What was it? Yeah, yeah. Oops, damn it. Should have committed this first. Git. Just want to see my answers with Git. Nah. No way to search this. Ticklish. Yeah. No. Did I just commit -A? No, just commit. What? Oh, we lost everything. Great. Still lost everything. Dude, what the fuck? That's why. Thought I lost everything. Okay, window.h. Let's try that again. Now we are there. Okay. Path modifier. Unmerged path. What? Dude. What are you on about? Well, I don't think there's anything else, right? Went round, went round. Okay, status. Okay, now to commit this to a new branch. How do we do that? Just switch to a new branch and then commit it? Okay, yeah. Well, this is the still crashing version. Now I have to make my huge changes. Don't read my name. Well. I think I need a break because, yeah, didn't fully wrap my head around what I wanted to change now. Now, better first get a more clear picture, I think, of what I want to change. I know it's huge, but yeah. Way too huge. It's not fun anymore. I think it comes down to splitting up shader input data object into many objects, and then use those as a base class of my characteristics. And then somehow build in an automatic merge function for whatever the characteristics produce. And I thought that while I'm at it, I can also do an automatic registration. Just the fact that you derive from it. It would be nice to be able to do it step by step, right? We could start simple. Just break off a little piece of the shader input data object and then turn that into a different class and then add that to my current single characteristic. I'll make that work and then get a little bit insight in what I wanted to do-ish. Yeah, but I'm going to start with a break, so I'll be back later.